All right, everyone, welcome back to Lakers Latest. I hope everyone has had a good past couple days. I missed the other day where I was sick, just not feeling too great. But I'm good now, so I'm ready to talk Lakers. As always, coming to you from Studio City, California, in Los Angeles, where it is a scorching hot. Well, it's guys right now it's about 82. It's going to be 95 or higher the next 4 or 5 days. So yeah, just do what you can to stay warm. We're at that thick point in the summer where it's just hot all the time. So stay in AC, go in pools. Don't exert yourself too much. Do whatever you gotta do. But yeah, let's hop right into it today. So first thing on the docket, we have the Athletics' David Aldridge, who used to be a sideline reporter for TNT, I believe. I always remember him being on the sideline growing up. I think it was TNT, but now obviously he's more of a writer. So he ranked every NBA team's offseason, 1 out of 30 or 1 out of 32. God, I keep forgetting all the expansion teams. But he ranked every team's offseason, and he had the Lakers at 24th, which I don't know. I'm not gonna like come out here and say that the Lakers had the best offseason in the NBA, or even top five, to be honest with you, or even top 10. Like I don't even know if I would say they had a top 10 offseason, but I would probably put them in that like 11 to 15 range. Maybe like 13 to 15 sounds about right. Like right somewhere smack dab in the middle. Um, 24 though, like I don't know, man. That just seems a little crazy to me. Like you're telling me there was only like 6 or 7 teams, and the teams he had behind them were like the Suns, who had one of the worst off seasons I can ever remember. Like the Hornets, like all the bad teams, all the horribly run teams. It's like really like was their off season that bad that they're just barely getting above these teams? Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I'll go into his reasons why in a second, but just off the bat, like it doesn't really seem like it's something I can necessarily agree with. So let's go into his reasonings. Again, I can understand some of them. Some of them are a little bit of reaches. So the first thing he talked about, questions the DeAndre Ayton fit. Is it going to work? If it doesn't work, is he going to throw a temper tantrum? Is he going to have attitude issues? Somewhat, I guess I can understand somewhat where he's coming from about being worried about that. But at the same time, from everything we've seen so far, like Aiden's done everything you'd want him to do. He's been going to games with teammates. He's been getting to know them. Obviously, training camp starts probably in about 3 to 4 weeks. Actually, no, it's August 21st, so probably about 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll get a better of idea of how he can play with his teammates, all the developing chemistry. But yeah, I don't know. Like I can understand his worry about Aiton not fitting, but I just feel like to say like this might not work, so they had a bad off season is a little bit of a stretch. Like at the end of the day, he was great value. The guy was making close to maybe a little over 30 million a year in Portland. I understand he got bought out, obviously for reasons, but you're not going to find better value on the center market than what you got for him. He's still a very talented player. He brings a ton of offensive post games potential, so that's something you needed. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a reach for me. And then couple other things are, he says Marcus Smart isn't what he used to be, but he's still a solid player, which I guess I can understand that. And then the other thing that makes no sense to me is he just talked about how much the Lakers sales could potentially change their brand and how that could affect them moving forward. And I mean, that was part of his offseason. To me, like, it was part of the Lakers offseason, but when you're like assessing how teams did in the offseason, like you're assessing the player personnel and stuff that they got. So it's like, yes, I understand the sale was a huge part of the Lakers offseason and it will affect the franchise moving forward. But like when you're assessing how teams did in their offseason, that to me isn't something that should be part of it or play any role in where you rank them. At the end of the day, it's based off of player acquisitions, acquiring talent. How did they do? How did they improve their team for this year? And again, I don't think they did better than they were the best team in the NBA at that. I think they're probably right there in the middle, but 24th is just insane. Like 24th is almost seems like rage baiting just to get us to talk about it because there's no real validity to them being ranked 24th. I just don't see that. Even though again, not the top, but 24th is just a little wild to me. So yeah, I just want to talk about that. All right, let's hop into the next thing. Rob Pelinka talking about Adu Thiero's potential. Um, Now, again, I really like De'Aaron in the draft. He's a guy who I think has a lot of potential. I think he was a first round talent. It was clear to anyone who watched him in college, especially this last year in Arkansas. Um, so a few things that Pelinka said about Tierra. I can't remember who was being interviewed or who was being interviewed by, but he said they're very aggressive in moving up from 55 to 36 to get a player like to get the arrow. I'm assuming they also probably had a couple other targets that maybe got grabbed right before that pick, but he was definitely one of those top targets. Um, Talks about him being has an explosive frame, deep developing shooter, lob catcher. Now we know he's not the greatest shooter. That's been well established. It's something obviously he's working on. Hopefully he can get to respectable. Probably not this year, but maybe in a couple of years. Um, but he's something you need in the fact that every team needs explosive and athletic wings. Like that's one of the body archetypes in the NBA that is most coveted. A guy that could potentially be a two-way wing. They're hard to get, and when you do get them, they're incredibly valuable. So I do think he has that potential. We'll see how he does. But the defensive potential is definitely there for him to have an impact right away. Now, another thing they talked about, or Rob talked about, was how his really strong character when he had his workout with the Lakers. Him and JJ Redick obviously watched him and also talked to him and kind of got to know him. And yeah, Pelinka just touted how he has such a strong character. He's a really hard worker. He wants to be great. And those are all things that you definitely want when you're looking for a guy, especially a second round guy that maybe has more potential that could just fill in. He's not gonna complain. But that's an important thing. I think in college, I would say you can get away with talent versus like if you're a really talented guy but maybe you're not the best teammate or you don't work the hardest enough, like that's you can get away with that in college by your talent, but you can't in the NBA. So it's kind of important that you have someone who's a strong character, can add to the team, is going to work hard, stick his feet in the mud, grind in practice, grind in workouts, grind in training camps to try and earn that spot, and isn't going to complain. Obviously, I'm assuming he might play some in the G League this year, but it's good to hear that he has a strong character because those are the guys that, especially in the NBA, you want to surround your team with a ton of those guys, whether they're the top players in the NBA and superstars, or whether they're role players, or even just bench guys that maybe might not see the court too much, but they're going to have good character and they're just going to be great teammates. So it's always good to hear that, and I love the fact that Rob and JJ Redick were able to develop that relationship with him and really see the type of person he is. So we love to see that. And then the last thing was he kind of compared him to OG Anunoby, which obviously I can definitely see some of shades of OG in his game. I think the massive difference is OG is a pretty solid shooter. He's become a very good mid-range shooter, a solid three-point shooter, especially from the corner. I think he's one of the best in the NBA. So, yeah, the shooting definitely is not there yet with OG, but kind of all the other traits you see, the defense, the athleticism, those are, I definitely see some of it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as OG, but you would love it if he's even half as good as OG. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, but definitely excited to see how he does in training camp in the preseason. So next thing I got breakout year for Marcus Smart. So first of all, I don't necessarily know if I can say it's a breakout year for someone that's 33. I think he's 33 years old. But I think it's more an important year. I think that's a better term. And this Patrick Beverley said it was a breakout year for Marcus Smart, obviously former Laker. But yeah, he kind of just talked about how Marcus Smart was playing really well for the Wizards. People kind of forget that, and he thinks he's going to be a huge part of the Lakers. I would agree with that. But again, breakout year is not the term I would use. I would use important year. I think it's a very important year for Marcus Smart, for himself, and also for him on the Lakers. Now, obviously, he signed a 2-year deal. I believe it's a player option the second year. It's a team option. That's on me, but I'm pretty sure it's a player option. So, given the fact that he's 33, if he can really stay healthy the full year, and really show like whether the Lakers make the conference finals, win the NBA finals, make it to the NBA finals. If he can rebuild his value to the point where he's like, I might be 33, but I'm still that Marcus Smart that brought these intangibles to the Celtics, helped them win a championship. He's probably looking potentially, and again, it's predicated off his healthiness, I would say. But if he can have a full healthy season where he shows very close to his old self, he's probably looking at the last big payday of his career. Obviously, he signed the 2-year deal with the option to give him, a chance to really potentially get that final big payday. And for the Lakers, like they want the best out of Marcus Smart, which I think they're going to get. They want that defensive lockdown guy. They want, the guy that's going to guard the opposing team's best wing player, best guard, or even best center. Sometimes I remember when Porzingis was on the Knicks, Smart would defend him. Sometimes it was crazy. So yeah, it's a huge year for him. It might be looking at his last big contract, and I think it's a huge year for the Lakers too, because if they're going to go anywhere or do anything, I think they need Marcus Smart to be healthy, and I think they need him to be maybe not exactly the guy he used to be, but very close to it, because they've been missing that type of player, especially when you watch last year Austin Reeves just get destroyed on defense in the Timberwolves series. So, yeah, again, breakout year would not be the term I would use. I think important year for both teams, both Marcus Smart as the player Marcus Smart for himself, and also for the Lakers. Best case scenario is healthy the whole year. He looks exactly like his old self with the Celtics. He crushes it. Is a huge part of the Lakers wherever they go, whether that be conference finals, hopefully past semifinals or NBA finals. But yeah, it's a good chance for him to rebuild his value before probably the last big contract of his career, if he can prove he can stay healthy. So yeah, we'll see what happens there with Marcus Smart, but definitely excited for him to be on the Lakers. And then last one, I kind of just got a fun one here. It's Shaq has agreed to do celebrity boxing with Charlie Mack. Like honestly, I don't even know who Charlie Mack is. I don't really care either. I'm excited to see Shaq's big bumbling 7 foot 200 size, probably 300 whatever pound, bumbling around there trying to hit people. It's just going to be funny. I don't know if I've ever seen that one that big try and box. Am I going to watch it live? No, definitely not. I'll just watch some of the highlights. I wouldn't waste my time fully with that. I just think it's funny that Shaq's like this 7 foot behemoth and he's going to be boxing. It's going to be funny, like watching him move around and stuff like that. Like I don't even know how big Charlie Mack is. I know he's like 6'5", so he's going to be like trying to like box him from the bottom. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't know. There'll be more details on that if the date and everything. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not gonna tune into the actual thing. I'll definitely watch highlights though to see what Shaq looks like boxing, just because I think that would be really funny. But yeah, anyway, that's it for me today, guys. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks before the regular season starts. But catch you guys later.